Yeah, and moving on to the champion hurdle, JP McManus loves this race. 9 wins, including Isterbrack, the famous three in a row. Epitant, the winner last year, goes off as near favourite again with Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle it's going to be interesting to see whether he goes in the mare's hurdle as well. Brian, where do you stand on this? Epitant last year, kind of just showed that Barry Garrity was in such great form. 11-4, is that something you're interested in?
I mean, this is probably the most. It's a pretty unique champion hurdle in the sense that there's two mares dominating the market. Up until Annie Power won it in 2016, we were waiting since 1994 since the last mare won. I think it was Flaky Dove won it, and I mean it's like I don't know. I would forgive Epiton for her run at Christmas. I mean, I would certainly give her the benefit of the doubt in that sense. And had Honeysuckle not ran so impressively at the Dublin Race Festival, I would have still said, Epiton is probably the horse to back in this race. If Concertista had went first, then I would have said that she would have been her main threat. But I think with Honeysuckle's performance at the Dublin Race Festival and how impressive she was, I can't see anything else here other than I think that her performance at that day at Leopardstown was just so good. It was her best. Rachel Blackmore came out after the race and says, "This is the honey that we always thought we would get." She said it was her best career performance ever. She ran the race in 6 seconds faster than Epiton's champion hurdle win last year, which I'm not saying, like, I know that these times things, it depends on ground and there's so many factors in this, but I mean, it's just something to just keep in your mind. And I just think that the way that she, like, Ruby Walsh did a great analysis of this race last week on the road to Cheltenham with your woman on racing TV. I can't remember her name, but
Lydia Hislop. Yeah.
Lydia Hislop, and he said to her that, like, the road in Leopardstown is the most perfect guide when you're racing there. You never make your move before you get to the road crossing. And Honeysuckle wanted to go away before that and wanted to take Rachel on as if she knew what she was doing herself. And I mean, when you saw the way that she attacked, the Leopardstown is a good track for Cheltenham because the way that the second last flight is on the cross before you turn in, and when she kicked off the back straight and went down to the second last, like, and the way that she flicked over the second last was just like, you were looking at saying, wow, this is a real champion hurdle horse. Because, like, there's always a secret with hurdlers that, you don't jump the hurdles, you skip over them, you kind of brush the top of it. I mean, Honeysuckle went through it like a ton of bricks and she makes yards at her hurdles, which is so important. And, like, there's no question about Epiton not doing that as well. I mean, she is she's a brilliant turn of foot. We saw it in the race last year when Barry Garrity literally just pressed the on switch and away she went. She was gone. And I don't know. It's going to be a fair race because Honeysuckle is going to want to dictate it. She's going to want to go out in front. She's going to want to take the race with the scruff of the neck and let Epitant come to her. And if Epitant lets the reins go a little bit too much, like she did with Silver Streak at Christmas, I just think this could work out in Honeysuckle's favour. And I just think that this is. I mean, I was taken away by her performance at the Dublin Race Festival. I mean, the last 6 winners of the champion hurdle have been unbeaten that season. Doesn't suit well for Epitant's case in that matter. But I mean, there's no question about it. She deserves her go again. I would forgive her for her run, as I said. But I mean, if she lets that thing go again, if she lets another horse dictate her race like Silver Streak did at Christmas, I think she's going to be in big trouble here because I just think that Honeysuckle's performance at the Dublin Race Festival was a serious wow factor. And I think that if this is that they're going for this race, they're not going for the mares, they're going for this race. And I think if Henry de Bromhead wants this, is going for this race, then he thinks he has his chance here. And I just think that this is a 2-1 top of the market. I think that this thing wins.
Yeah, just to echo what Brian said, like, I was watching, I actually backed Honeysuckle in the mares anti-post last year, and kind of went off the case, was again sold these Benny to do is way too good a mare, and I thought that as well going into the race. So while I had her anti-post, I didn't expect her to win, and I almost think too much was made of the inside rail thing because she went out and beat Benny to do, who's an unbelievable mare, fair and square, like, in my opinion. I know that was a length or two she stole, but the way she galloped to the line in that mare's hurdle last year shows that she's able to stay up that hill no problem. And I think she'd have beaten Benny to do if they were neck and neck going to the last, because I do think she just stayed on a little. I think she wanted a little bit more than Benny to do. But this year she's kind of taken it up a notch. And I didn't back her in the Irish champion hurdle. I wasn't a believer. And when she turned in for home, in my head, I went, that's it. That's the champion hurdle winner. And sometimes you just got to keep racing simple. And you try and get a favourite beat too much, you'll end up getting her beat. And I actually think she should be a lot shorter than Epitan at the moment. I actually think their money will come for Honeysuckle. Like, she hasn't lost yet, and she hasn't been at her best a lot of days and still went out and won. And I do think that was a career best performance. You think of the length she put. Like, I thought Abracadabras, because I had him back, so I was watching him the whole way. I thought he ran pretty well. Probably as good as form as he's had since the Supreme, and he was absolutely battered by Honeysuckle. And I actually think Honeysuckle will go off 6-4 on the day. I really think punters will get in behind her. So it's one of the few favourites at the moment that I do think is overpriced. I do think Epatante will drift. You can poke holes in that champion hurdle. Like, while visually Epatante was very impressive, I do think like Darver Star was third, and I had Darver Star back again, but I don't know how good a horse Darver Star really is, particularly a 2 mile hurdler. I don't think he's a 2 mile hurdler. Obviously, he's gone fences this year. So for me, I think Honeysuckle should be shorter. I don't think Epatante, like, first of all, even if she came back to the form she was in last year in the champion, I still think Honeysuckle will probably beat her. And on that basis, the fact that's not even guaranteed, you have to side with Honeysuckle. And in terms of one of a price, like, I wouldn't put, like, there are a few each way alternatives, like, in terms of, like, you've got Abracadabras there, Aspire Tower, Silver Streak, Sharjah. You kind of, like, there's not much between. I think they're about rightly priced. Like, I guess maybe someone to pick up the pieces could be Abracadabras. Gordon Elliott's weren't firing Christmas, so you can excuse that run. He ran behind Honeysuckle. And again, like we talked about before, sometimes the horses in behind the favourites aren't given the credit. Just because they can't beat that horse doesn't mean that they won't run into a place. But for me, if you want to keep it simple, Honeysuckle, I think 5-2. I hope she's going there. Like you mentioned, Brian, they said she's 100% going champion. I backed her without the no runner, no bet already. So I've taken that bit of a risk on there. So I've been burnt before, but yeah, I still think that even that 9-4, 2-1, no runner, no bet is a good price, because I do think she'll go off 6-4.
Anything to be said for Sharjah, Brian, at 10-1, third to Suckle, Honeysuckle, as you said, at the Dublin Racing Festival, second last year to Epatante, has beaten the likes of Aspire Tower and things. Is there anything to be said for Sharjah?
I mean, yeah, you can make a case for him if you want to. Like, I mean, he probably didn't run as well as he wanted to at the Dublin Racing Festival, and then they, you know, last year in the Irish Champion Hurdle, when he went up against Honeysuckle, he raced too prominently. Sharjah's a bit like Epatante. He wants to wait to make his move. And I think last year in the Irish Champion, he let himself go out in front. That doesn't suit him. The gallop was too strong. He was, by the time they turned him for home, he was fecked. And I just think that he kind of rectified that when he went to the Champion Hurdle. He bought his time and finished well. He was no match for the winner, but he ran a very, very good race, very credible race. Which is good, obviously excellent form. And I mean, then he went to the Madison at Christmas and he was excellent. And Paddy Mullins knows how to ride him. I hope that they give him the ride in this, because at the moment he's Willie Mullins' first string when you look at the market. So I hope that he gives him the benefit and lets Patrick ride him, because Patrick it's a bit like Brian Frost and Frodon. It's a match made in heaven. They know how he knows him better than anybody else. And I think that he knows how to get him right. So, like, a little bit of good ground. He lets him hang out the back and takes it on with Honeysuckle. I think that the race probably might do a bit better for him with the fact that Epatante's presence is there, because I think that he could use Epatante as a bit of a guide. He could usually race alongside her and then make his move when she makes it. So maybe that could be a factor too. Maybe that's what lacked a little bit in the Irish Champion. There wasn't really too much other. It was only really about the front two. So, but you can make a case for him. He was second in last year. Horses that have been placed in this race, go back to it, have good form. Like, you look at My Tent or Yours. He was second in it 3 times. Like, there's no reason why he can't be involved. But, like, I mean, I don't think he has the depth now. I think he was found out at that race at the Dublin Racing Festival. I don't think he'd have to match for them again.
Yeah, Charge is a weird one because I messed up last year in the Irish Champion, and I had him. I think it was 9-4 favorite, or between him and Honeysuckle on the day. And for some reason, he just hasn't performed. Like, he's won 3 Madison hurdles in a row, but for some reason, he hasn't performed in that February window. I think that's 2 or 3 now. You could make a case that he could potentially reverse the form with Epatante. So what was he? I think from memory now, maybe 2 or 3 lengths in the end. But it was Epatante one hand enough, I think, but. First of all, as we said, Epatante's not guaranteed to be in that form. And like you said, Sharjah will track Epatante, because race tactics will be interesting here in the sense that Silver Streak is probably going to lead, and Honeysuckle will take that lead off Silver Streak, you'd assume. I don't know if Titi Mouchard will be up there, how they'll ride him. But whatever way it works, Honeysuckle will be prominent. So Epatante will be tracking Honeysuckle. Obviously, they're the 2 favourites. And if Sharjah just sits, and Patrick Mullins really has to sit and 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 sit, almost so they jump the last and then try and pick up some sort of piece. And yeah, you never know, especially if Honeysuckle, they all get running too early. There is a case that Sharjah could run into a place, but it's a tough horse to figure out, because for some reason he hasn't performed in February. You could possibly throw a line through that and just say it is one of those things. Horses are horses are mad things at the best of times.
They're
But
funny, yeah, they can be like that though. So like, I mean, you're probably right. It's going to be. Look, it's a serious angle to. It's a serious kind of market to dive into because I mean, you could make like I mean, Bouverdaire is two-time champion hurdle winner. He's 16-1, and I mean, if Nicky Henderson is going to enter him in this race, he's not going to run him for the crack. You see, you could make all these cases too. I don't think he's going to win the race, but I mean, it's very tough. I mean, I backed Aspire Tower for this at 16-1 each way before he ran in the Madison at Christmas. I'm still happy enough with that. He's 12-1. He was very good at Down Royal when he beat Abracadabra. He was second last year in the Triumph. I know that Triumph was obviously he would have been third had Goshen had stayed up at the last. But I mean, it's he obviously knows his way around Cheltenham. I was happy enough with that. Don't think he'll win, but I mean, he could run on to maybe finish in the top three. So other than that, now I wouldn't really see much other depth to this market.
Yeah, Nicky Henderson looking to add to another winner. And JP McMahon is looking for a 10th winner of the Champion Hurdle, which is, kind of mad stuff when you think about it.